Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to absolutely shatter some deeply ingrained societal myths about work and wealth. The goal? To help you find true, lasting financial freedom. We're going to take a hard look at the invisible scripts that basically run our lives and, well, systematically rewrite them.
So let me ask you this. Are you locked in a golden cage? You know, so many of us have followed all the conventional rules, right? We acquired the comfortable jobs, we bought the nice house, and yet we still feel completely trapped. I mean, we literally live in the wealthiest era in human history, but we wake up with this quiet, persistent anxiety. Why is that? Well, it's because we're locked in a golden cage, held fast by a set of invisible handcuffs that look suspiciously like success.
Here's our roadmap for this unlearning process. We're going to start with the middle-class trap, expose the hustle culture lie, uncover the communication multiplier, harness the power of no, and finally, rethink your retirement reality. Let's get right into it.
Part 1. The middle-class trap and those invisible handcuffs I just mentioned. You see, poverty is this visible, painful enemy that forces you to fight. But the middle-class trap, it's warm, it's cozy. It perfectly satisfies your survival needs while completely numbing the instinct that's actually designed to make you free. Now, what's really fascinating here is the profound psychological difference between spending all your energy trying to look rich versus quietly retaining capital to actually become wealthy. Being rich is super visible, right? It's the leased sports car, the giant mortgage, but honestly, it usually masks a really fragile panic. You're basically one missed paycheck away from total disaster. Wealth, on the other hand, is completely invisible. It's the unspent capital, the investments compounding in the background that give you the ultimate luxury, which is options. It's literally the luxury of not having to do things you just don't want to do. There's this great concept from writer Paul Graham about the anchors of possessions. As you accumulate stuff, the endless subscriptions, the car payments, the heavy mortgages, these tiny little threads weave together into an unbreakable cable that just anchors you right to a desk. Your baseline expenses skyrocket, and your risk tolerance, it drops to absolute zero. You can't take a chance on a cool new business idea or take a year off to travel because, well, those anchors are constantly demanding your paycheck.
Moving on to part 2, the hustle culture lie and why working harder actually fails.
So we've all been sold this multi-billion-dollar lie going all the way back to the Industrial Revolution that says working harder and longer is the ultimate path to success. But here's the thing, the system needs you to believe this not because it makes you rich, but because obedient, predictable labor makes the system rich. Actually, a Stanford study analyzed decades of data and revealed something mind-blowing. Human productivity steadily rises up to 50 hours a week, but after 55 hours, your output literally falls off a cliff. Someone working 70 hours produces almost the exact same output as someone working 55 hours. Those extra 15 hours don't build wealth, they just produce exhaustion, costly errors, and total burnout.
And this is totally backed up by global OECD data. Just think about how the hardest working countries by hours, like Mexico, push well past 2,000 hours a year, yet the wealthiest nations per capita, like Germany, actually work the fewest hours, clocking in around just 1,340 hours. To put that into perspective, the math is unambiguous here. Endless grinding absolutely does not equal wealth. Quality of thought is always going to be quality of effort. If you truly want to escape this rat race, you absolutely must shift your mindset from selling your limited time for a capped salary to owning systems that compound around the clock. Think about this guy named Ronald Reed. He was a janitor in Vermont who lived a completely ordinary life, but quietly amassed an $8 million fortune. No way, right? Well, he didn't work harder than anyone else. He just deeply understood ownership. He bought shares in solid companies that worked for him 24/7 while he swept floors. Instead of just working harder, the truly wealthy use these 4 incredibly powerful multipliers to shatter the constraints of normal human biology. They use other people's time, other people's capital, automated technology, and infinitely scalable media. By leveraging these specific tools, they don't have to make thousands of frantic, exhausted decisions every single day. They just execute a few massive asymmetric decisions each year, where the downside is strictly capped, but the upside is, quite literally, limitless.
All right, let's transition to part 3, the communication multiplier and the art of translating value.
Here's a tough pill to swallow. Having a brilliant, high IQ technical mind means absolutely nothing if you cannot translate it to the rest of the world. You could be the smartest person in the room by a mile, but if you can't persuade, inspire, or clearly articulate your vision, all that intelligence remains completely locked inside your own head. This is how the math of wealth actually works. Your base technical skill multiplied by your communication ability equals your true market value. Look at Apple. Steve Wozniak had the towering technical base number, the pure raw engineering genius. But Steve Jobs used his terrifying communication multiplier to take Wozniak's raw circuitry and turn it into a reality distortion field that built the trillion-dollar empire. Jobs translated the complex into the fiercely compelling.
And you know, this applies just as much to the silent realm of written communication. Jeff Bezos famously banned PowerPoint at Amazon. Why on earth would he do that? Because he recognized that bullet points hide lazy, incomplete thoughts. You can so easily gloss over fatal flaws with a flashy chart or a cool transition. But writing structured 6-page narratives, that forces you to confront the gaps in your logic and become a true architect of thought. So I want to challenge you right now to audit your own invisible skills by executing this brutal but incredibly effective 30-day exercise. First, record yourself speaking for 3 minutes every single day without a single or like. Train your brain to embrace the strategic, confident pause instead of just panicking in the silence. Second, write 1 page daily using the Hemingway rule. We're talking short sentences, strong verbs, and absolutely zero fluff. Doing this will physically rewire your brain for razor-sharp logic.
Okay, moving into part 4, the power of no and guarding your time.
Pretty much from birth, our default setting is to say yes to please the tribe, right? We all want to be agreeable. But man, we pay a massive opportunity cost with our finite focus every single time we agree to a mediocre meeting or a trivial request. When Steve Jobs returned to Apple in 1997, the company was bleeding to death trying to build over 300 different products. He saved Apple from the brink of bankruptcy by mercilessly killing nearly all of them, focusing their terrifying energy on just 4 core products. True focus isn't about what you choose to look at, it's the violent elimination of what you refuse to look at.
Violently guarding your calendar to create quiet, empty space is an absolute prerequisite for making the big decisions that build generational wealth. So implement this masterclass in rejection starting today. First, never say yes immediately. Always apply a strict 24-hour buffer. Second, ask yourself what part of your future you're sacrificing just to appease someone today. And finally, deliver a firm, polite no. And remember, a long excuse is really just an invitation for an argument.
Let's transition to our final section, Part 5, Rethinking Your Retirement Reality, the Ultimate Endgame.
We're all taught to dream of traditional retirement, right? The day we finally stop working entirely. But this fantasy is heavily pushed by a financial industry that frankly profits immensely from your confusion and your fear. Take a look at this absolutely staggering number, $315,000. That is the average out-of-pocket healthcare cost for a retiring couple today. And get this, that completely excludes long-term care. This number completely exposes the outdated 1994 4% withdrawal rule as a dangerous fiction in today's world of runaway inflation and soaring medical costs. If your portfolio stops compounding the day you retire, it's basically quietly bleeding to death.
So the true framework for the endgame isn't just about the math. It's honestly existential. Suddenly, stopping work entirely actually accelerates physical and mental decline. The human brain is literally designed to solve problems and contribute to society. So your goal shouldn't just be permanent passive leisure. No, your ultimate goal is gaining the absolute freedom to choose meaningful work entirely on your own terms.
The clock is always moving. Ask yourself this question today. Not next year, not when you feel more ready. Because the most expensive luxury in personal finance isn't a massive mansion or a flashy sports car. It's for sure the irrecoverable time you lose while waiting for the perfect moment to start living on your own terms. So unlearn the lies, break those invisible handcuffs, and start building your ultimate freedom right now.